Kant's system of morality is one of the strictest and most demanding ethical systems there is. Duty for duty's sake. But I myself actually align with Kant, because his system of morality offers a unique grounding that just no other system of morality can provide. But more about that later. Let's first discuss the basics of Kantianism. Even if one does not agree with Kant, one must admire the scope of his achievement. He is one of those philosophers that just built a fully coherent philosophical system, not only when it comes to morality, but with epistemology, metaphysics, and even art as well. So, as you might understand, Kant's system is vast. One would probably have to read all of his critiques in order to fully understand his philosophy. But in today's episode, I will give you guys one simple way of applying his principles into practice. And in order to do so, we need to begin by distinguishing between hypothetical and categorical imperatives. To begin with, what is an imperative? Well, simply put, it is a sort of demand or rule that prescribes a certain action. Simple examples could be forward, or learn, or practice. So then, whenever someone poses a hypothetical end or goal, and then prescribes a certain action one should take in order to achieve it, we have what is called a hypothetical imperative. For example, if you want to achieve X, then you should do Y. If you want to get good grades, then study. If you want to lose weight, then exercise. If you want to act morally, then continue to watch this episode till the end. If you're familiar with formal logic, think of a hypothetical imperative as an if-then sentence where the antecedent is a desired goal or end, and the consequent is an imperative. But here's the thing, with hypothetical imperatives, they are based on someone's self-interests or wants, like a goal or end. However, any system of morality worth the name cannot be about anyone's self-interest, right? It has to be completely impartial. And this is where the categorical imperative comes in. In contrast with hypothetical imperatives, the categorical imperative is unconditional and applies universally. Simply put, it's do this, no matter what. There are different formulations of the categorical imperative, but we'll focus on this one during this episode. Act only on to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. But for starters, what is a maxim? Well, roughly put, it is sort of the rule of conduct upon which you act. And here is the basis of Kant's whole system of morality. So whenever you're at a moral crossroads contemplating what you should do, you should simply, roughly put, ask yourself the question, what would the world look like if everybody acted in the same manner? And would I like the outcome of that world, or does that world in some way fall into a contradiction of sorts? Let me elaborate a bit. Let's say that I'm lying in my bed one morning contemplating whether I should spend the rest of my day in bed enjoying Netflix, or if I should get up and work hard on my talents, which I've never worked on. So let's elevate the maxim of staying in bed and never developing my talents as a universal law. What would the world look like if everybody acted according to that maxim? Well, I wouldn't like the outcome of that world, a world where no one is developing their talents. I mean, for instance, there would be no Netflix for me to enjoy since no one has practiced on their acting skills. From this, we can deduce what Kant calls an imperfect duty, since we would not like to live in a world where no one develops their talents. That means we want to live in a world where everybody develops their talents. Therefore, we have a moral obligation or duty to develop our talents. Let's do another one. Let's say hypothetically that someone comes up to me and asks me the question, "Are you a philosopher? Because if you're not, we will grant you $1,000,000. Here, I might be very tempted to tell a lie, right? I mean, $1,000,000. Whew. But what would happen if we elevate the maxim of telling lies? Here's a more formal way of putting it to make this example a bit more clear. First off, we use the categorical imperative as a premise. Then the second premise, I tell a lie. Then, when I tell a lie, I want others to believe it. Sounds reasonable, right? And then the fourth one, if the maxim of telling lies is universalized, no one would believe anything anyone said. Conclusion, contradiction between P3 and P4. As you can see, we end up with a contradiction. We simply cannot tell a lie without contradicting ourselves. Thus, it is irrational to tell lies. And from this we can deduce a perfect duty that we must never tell lies. The difference between imperfect and perfect duties is a bit perplexing, to be honest. According to Kant, perfect duties yield no exceptions, while imperfect ones do. For instance, if I find myself in a situation where I can fulfill my duty to help a fellow person by telling a lie, I simply should not, because the perfect duty of not telling a lie trumps the imperfect one. This leads me to a big problem for me and my other fellow Kantians. The example of the axe murderer. But I'll save that one for a future episode. By the way, could I ask you guys for a favor? As of me recording this, I am not yet monetized on YouTube, and I've noticed that 90% of you guys watching this channel are not yet subscribed. It would really mean the world to me if you would subscribe to this channel, because it really does help this channel get bigger, which means that I can spend more time on it and give you guys some more good content. Thank you so much for your consideration. Now, let's continue. But now, let me explain why I consider myself a Kantian. And it is actually due to ontological reasons. Because in order to make Kant's system to work, we do not have to invoke any extra metaphysical entities, except for maybe rationality, but I mean, does that even qualify as a metaphysical entity? So here is the thing. If morality exists, it has to be universal, right? We would never call someone moral who always intentionally acts according to his or her own self-interest. Therefore, if morality exists, it is the categorical imperative. So if you accept that morality exists, then it is the categorical imperative, and if you accept the categorical imperative, then the rest of Kant's ethics just follows, right? This is the reason why I consider myself a Kantian. Because we can simply know that his system of morality exists. But unfortunately, as it is with all philosophical theories, we have problems. For instance, within Kantianism, we have the problem of specific maxims. What if I elevate the maxim of telling a lie on a Tuesday morning when you can get away with it, and you will receive $1,000,000 by doing so? If I elevate this maxim, we neither end up in a contradiction nor a world that we wouldn't want to see. So basically, every maxim that is specific enough can be universalized. I think you see the big problem here, right? Certainly a big problem, but I believe it's solvable. Another issue for Kantians is regarding the standard of intuitive appeal. For instance, if you visit a sick friend in the hospital and tell them you came only because of your duty, he might be quite angry and possibly not your friend anymore. We simply don't want someone to visit us only because of a duty. We want them to visit us because they want to. Therefore, the whole idea of duty for duty's sake can be a bit suspect, right? I would love to discuss more of these standards, but this video has already exceeded its time frame. So, if you want to know more about these standards, then I suggest you should check this video out and you can try to evaluate Kantianism yourself. And then you can leave a comment down below and we can discuss it.